Lords and ladies, welcome back to MyStreet. 5 years later, with your host, Jacob Butter. With light. Isn't that fun? Yeah. It's been a wild ride today. I thought to myself, hey, I wanted to do this pre-recorded video right before doing 5 years later and then upload that so I have something today because again, it's May, don't want to drop those watch hours. Yeah, turns out because I was out driving a lot longer than usual, uh that ended up not happening. So yeah, now yeah, I did actually happen, but it happened much way later in the day, and I also had 3 connection fails. But none of that matters because we're here to tackle one of the probably most awaited My Street videos. We're here to tackle the big battle. So it's gonna be, I guess, a lot of the same things for a review purpose, but in the actual episode, definitely far better. So check it out. If you thought that the part 1 was slow, you're right. This one isn't. So let's go ahead and watch this because this won't be as slow as me actually starting this video. So here we go. Without further ado, on with the review. This is how we ended last time. See, that's the same shot as before, but if you remember, in the last part, a feather actually like flew in front of the camera so that we would go to the end card, and this time that seems to have not been included. This, I believe, is what BB refers to as a practice as keeping the original animator files and rendering them in different ways. So yeah, a nice non-touch, I suppose. Although I did make a music video based on this at one point. I wanted that as one of the final visuals, so I'm pretty sure I timed that transition with the Reborn Part 1 footage instead, which, is fair. I'm not sure if there's any other differences that stand out to me, so yeah, we're just going to continue for now.
You're one of the 3 pieces of her broken soul?
And that's the line that launched 1,000 questions. I'm not sure so many theories necessarily. I personally did have a theory about this, but I didn't really bring it up. The implication at the time, because the Void Paradox I just aired, was that the 3 pieces of broken soul refers to the mod world that's Void Paradox aphmau, the Diaries aphmau, and this MyStreet aphmau right now, all being pieces of Irene's broken soul. Now, that's all fine until you remember that there's several more aphmaus in this multiverse, and it could be the Mermaid Tales one, the Royal Tale one. There are several others. So, depending on whether or not those were, coincidences, or whether at some point aphmau was going to retroactively decanonize the other versions, that remains to be seen, because once again, we don't receive any proper confirmation that it was the Mod World one, apart from the fact that void burns exist in both realities. But who's to say they don't exist in the others? So for me, that was a non-conclusive one, but I can see people are going with that one. Anyways, we never found out what the third piece is, so moving on. And she doesn't care, she's going by instinct right now.
Fine. If you want to play God, let me kill you in a place more fit for a goddess to die.
I mean, fair. Ah, now she reacts a bit. This looks like the Irene dimension, but the fact it's a chapel to herself kind of seems a bit conceited from as far as Irene's concerned, but Also, nice time to the music. And the reflections there from the light source. Ooh. Don't get blinded. It's gonna come after you. Wow, his shadow was looming way closer than I thought it would. I guess a reflection again. And the debris too. Okay, that's a nice way of seeing like where the powers are channeled from specifically, and holding that position too. I look compared to Dragon Ball a lot, I think, especially because I've seen much more about the anatomy of Dragon Ball now than I did when I first watched this. When Goku first becomes Super Saiyan, he kind of like there's a risk of losing himself because he's got into like a purely instinct-based version of himself that could go much further than the character potentially would be willing to in other situations. Until you remember, there's still Goku underneath all of that. In this case, aphmau's going through something similar, except for the fact that it's like several people attached to her, and she's only kind of like vaguely seems to be in control sometimes, particularly when the white eyes are out. But yeah, as far as like lending people's energy, yeah, again, she's got to do this by instinct because they didn't choreograph this. They didn't have time to plan out a battle tactic. So she just has to be like, okay, Lucinda, you're a part of me now. Blast, please, thank you. You know, that kind of thing. So that's an interesting like spin on that idea. And also the fact that beams didn't explode on impact, but they did when they got a bit closer. Maybe they had to gather a lot of energy, potentially. Now Aaron chimes in. Okay, the sword itself was blue, but Aaron's energy was red there. I like the matching that they did with Lucinda. Oh, another thing with Dragon Ball comparison, I was going to mention, when Goku charges up the Spirit Bomb for the first time, we see like every movement that he does actually. He like raises his arms, he puts his arms down, he accumulates the energy from below, he then like directs it. And in this case, yeah, we saw aphmau adopting one position, we saw where the energy gathered in her hand, we saw Lucinda on the other side of the frame, aphmau was in the same position, and then we saw like both as aphmau swings forward, then we cut back to the other version. That takes some choreographing in animation, I think. And I'm pretty sure you can probably coordinate the same movements in the animation itself, or at least for like one of the models. I'd have to ask BB about that for confirmation, but it seems like that's probably how that was put together. Doesn't make it less impressive because you know how it's done. If anything, it's clever because they're resourceful enough to figure it out. I wonder what Zane's powers would potentially be, really, because as far as, you know, because since he's is the only, like, pure human in the battle right now. Oh, I guess sword work, because Zane likes swords. Okay, alright. This version of Aaron doesn't have sword training, but Zane, kind of does, you know. Not really, but it was Vlad who took fencing, but still. He's used them more. Or you heard the slash, so maybe aphmau might have a gash on her somewhere now, potentially. This also shows off the importance of sound effects, by the way, because this wouldn't be nearly as dramatic otherwise. And they're risking the temptation, because aphmau did mention that, you know, she considered her content to be Minecraft anime, which makes sense, but if this were a proper anime, then we definitely have a bit more narration mid-battle than we do here. But we don't actually need it. It's not, like, super fast, like a lot of anime battles are, just so you can see how powerful the characters are. We know they're powerful. It's 3D as well, so you can't really do that do like fast movement as well necessarily, or as effectively. I guess because be out the footage, but it looks weird if you do that. But yeah, so they're using their medium, they're adapting it, but they're also not falling into the pitfalls of the things that have inspired them to some extent. because you don't want it to be cheesy at this point. You want it to be intense and action-packed, which it is. So let the sound itself and the musical score do the work for you. Brilliant.
It's time to end this.
Not quite. I need to do something first. Sorry to interrupt this. I need to I got 2 videos at once. I gotta do the thing. I'm sorry. I know what I'm interrupting right now, but I need the premiere to be seen. I need content. I require it. Oh, I forgot to add the thumbnail. Dang it. I'll do that too. You're missing something. Like, wait a minute. There's something not quite right about this. Let's see, where do I... down here. I should have put up my "we'll be right back" thing, but yeah, I'm not. I need to do like a mental break this time, so that doesn't quite count. Okay, there we go, fixed. Now we can continue.
Are you really going to kill me?
They had a whole conversation about this last episode, but you missed all of that. But you were busy staring into the abyss, doing nothing much at all. Okay. I think when I first saw this, I thought maybe he was saying like some of the souls that he collected into them, but no, he's actually been quite clear about this. Like, you know what? They all seem to be in perfect harmony. What if they weren't though?
Each one of them is now part of me.
Ah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, he was sending souls. All right.
Kill me, and they all die.
Your time is up, Erwin. I can't control you because we are both cursed souls.
We mentioned that, yeah.
However, I can control them and her.
I love how she's gone back into into herself, and also Final Fantasy, not into herself, into her Emerald Secret attire. Which, as far as I know, Michael wasn't aware that she ever wore. Maybe Ian described it or he observed it somehow, but don't really know about that. I guess it was just, you know, her default mentality when absorbed by the soul. Nah, they just want to do a callback. It's a callback. That's all it really is. But yeah, besides that, the music, again, we've gone from presumably some battle music from Final Fantasy into the Final Fantasy version of I forget what the what we call the Aaron death theme has been so far, or I guess the general death theme now, because we used it for aphmau at one point. But it's the same instrumentation as before, but just refined now. Which, by the way, the composer of Final Fantasy, I think he actually said that he just that he was talking to find someone, so he just like kind of learned how to do music himself. Which, you know, power move there again. That's just a random fact, and I can't remember the person's name, so it doesn't really affect much.
Please, stop! I don't want to hurt any of you!
Too bad. I don't want to hurt anyone! Boom, 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 boom! Down instantly.
Aaron, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry as well. Whoopsh! Karate chop, knocked out.
Stand alone, Erwin, as you always will.
Nah, we stand together. That's the literature of this. By the way, people mentioned that they noticed that the titles of each episode of season 6 spelt out "We Stand Together," which is probably also why there are exactly 15 episodes, even though there's like parts 1, 2, and 3 for some of them, or part 1 and 2 for another. That's probably why. Aside from, time restraints, most of these because of, I think, that.
We are going to kill
And the descriptions have some
so
hints too.
many people together.
Okay, this is a thing that I'm wearing my Harry Potter stuff, so I'll mention it again. This is a thing that I never understood about the Locket Horcrux, because if you remember that scene, if you haven't seen it, well, I'll just tell you. The Horcrux is supposed to try and make it so that it doesn't. It wants to not die, right? It wants to not be destroyed. So when Ron has the Sword of Gryffindor, which can destroy Horcruxes by the point of the story, and he's about to destroy it, it tries to use a defense mechanism, which is at first to be like, "I see your fears and dreams, Ronald Weasley," and also using spiders because he's completely terrified of them. Thanks to Fred and George, and talk about like all of his fears and make him feel like he's just completely and utterly worthless, which is a huge part of Ron's character feeling that way. But then it kind of makes a mistake of showing like a vision of Harry and Hermione belittling him and then proceeding to kiss themselves, which doesn't make him feel inferior. It makes him feel angry. And if the Horcrux can see into his like fears and dreams, like, so you see what can make him mad, so of course he gets mad and destroys it. Like, what was that about? In this case, of course, here, Aaron's going through the same thing. You were doing so well being like, you stand alone, you always have. You have no friends anymore. I've taken them all away from you. You have nothing remaining now. And then suddenly it's like, I'm going to hurt more people that you care about because you're part of this world. And then it's like, well, of course it's going to make him mad. Obviously. What were you even trying there, Michael? Oh, I guess that works. I mean, it worked last time, but it wasn't instantaneous. And that's why Aaron got stabbed a lot in the first place. But you know what? Fair. I always kind of thought that, for some reason in my mind, because I've only seen this episode once when it first came out, and then later again when I had to like find the footage for it for a music video, which might be getting a remake sometime soon, because it's also turning 5 years old. I thought for some reason that at this point it was Aaron fully in control of aphmau's body, but I guess because we took the time to show that he's, making sure that aphmau fights it, then it has to be aphmau channeling all of this stuff, and it can't just be that Aaron can take control because he's a soul inside of aphmau's body. That's just what I thought for some reason. Maybe I guess I just misinterpreted that when the episode came out.
Impossible.
I guess Zane and Lucinda need a hug right now. Oh, there we go. So now that's what I meant. That's why I thought he did that. Took a while to land a punch there. Lucinda casts Fireball because he's a wizard. Or witch, but the universal, That's more intense now. Well, more intense than the other controlled eyes. Probably because more magic is needed to, channel them. This is the normal version now. What we're getting here is the version we get usually. It's the same notes, if you can tell. Psych! Most of us aren't even dead! This is why reviving characters can sometimes be, or faking them out, could be a downfall. I still don't think Rachel's alive, or should be. So, I mean, I don't think Rachel's dead. I think she shouldn't be dead.
I'm sorry.
But yeah. This part didn't put the music video because it wasn't relevant to what the music video was about. Not that it wasn't a good part of the fight, because it is. And it's a great, like, multitask as well, because if you think about it, like, Aaron has to do both of these things at the same time now. Unless aphmau regain control. I guess this sword is the only sword that could, you know, destroy the Horcrux that is him or something. I mean, he's injured, but that shouldn't really defeat him entirely. This, however... And we know because every time this music plays, someone dies. So bye-bye, Michael.
Fire the cannon!
I wonder if they planned this part. Oh, I forgot it was Zack that did it. Oh my goodness. He must have worked that out off screen. Okay, pause. So last episode we saw Zack in that scene that I described during my reverb moments. If you remember, before I found out that I had the reverb still on, I panicked thinking I had that on this whole time. I didn't. But where you saw, like, you know, the dark tunnel, or like the light tunnel behind him, or the, you know, so it was a dark tunnel behind him because he was looking back at his dark past, I thought, and then there's like the brightness of the room kind of saying, like, you know, if he takes a step forward, he goes into the light. If he moves back and still keeps, and it still stays the same, then he's awaiting for, you know, darkness that he might not potentially escape from. That, I thought, cinematically was probably one of my favorite shots to talk about in MyStreet. I could be looking too deeply at it, but that's what I got from there. So, you know what? Art is subjective. So, but yeah, that was the last time that we saw Zack in that episode, I think. Which means that whatever, during this time, that during this, like, roughly, I don't know, like 3 to 4 minute fight sequence between aphmau and the demon warlock, they managed to coordinate that, you know, Kim/Ghost were going to do the exorcism together because they did it with Lucinda once, and they don't necessarily need her anymore because now Emmeline has some unlocked memories, even though she wasn't a witch. But whatever, ignoring that. But during that time, Zack also emerged. He cleared up what he was there to do and why he wanted to help. They trust him enough to fire the cannon on command because no one was around to guide him. So he could have just not fired it, and the whole plan would have, you know, gone to gone to pot, so to speak. But I guess they did, and then he did the thing that he, I guess, but the good thing that Michael told him to do originally, but he wasn't prepared to fire against an innocent person, but he was prepared to fire in order to, you know, clear up parts of his own conscience and begin to redeem himself, and also for the sake of saving his own daughter. So thematically, I understand why Zack firing the cannon there is significant. How we got there, kind of a little bit convenient, because I mean, you have to assume that all that other stuff I mentioned happened off screen, and considering they took 22 minutes, or however long I said last episode, to, you know, just get all their thoughts together and plan stuff. To say that they did all of that in, you know, a fraction of the time, you know, I call shenanigans on personally. But hey, thematically, there is no one better to fire that cannon. Potentially Toby could have stayed behind and fired it himself. Someone's used the walkie-talkie. It could have been Rowan in theory, but again, if we're going by thematics, there's like a little piece there that was potentially missing. I personally wouldn't mind if we did like a classic TFS style cutaway from the fight, except not to a joke this time, just to like that scene, coordinating that while the fight was going on somewhere else. Especially considering that time moves faster relative to the arena dimension. Time moves slower relative to the arena dimension than it does in there. So they were only there for a fraction of a second anyway. So, well, to them, but it could have been like way longer for everyone else outside. Actually, now that I think about it, they were in there for probably too long because a minute's supposed to be a year in the Irene dimension. Because if that is where we went, it could have been just a random Irene chapel that, Michael chose. I think maybe the first time I might have mentioned that in my previous review. Oh, what if that did happen? If the time dilation kicked in, and it turned out they were, four-ish years had passed. Potentially, I would hope that they would have escaped the cannon by this point, so they wouldn't just be stuck there for 4 years. Someone would eventually have figured out that something was going on. More reinforcements could have been sent. Toby would have explained the whole things they're not controlled by Michael, and then they would have tried to work out they might be in the Irene dimension. Potentially some sort of rescue, kind of like what Zoe did, except for the fact that she sacrificed her immortality to get there, so she probably wouldn't. They wouldn't be able to bring them out. They'd have to just, I guess, wait, much like the 15 years between Diary Season 1 and Season 2. But yeah, that's, I guess, another loose end potentially. But yeah. So either way, I would have shown part of like what's going on with Zach there. Not to say the fight wasn't epic, because it absolutely was. It definitely. I think I personally prefer, I guess, just the setting and the energy behind the Aaron versus Ian fights. I mean, it did like a whole music video just about that one fight sequence, and I guess how much of a shock it was to see the animation appear like before us during watching Emerald's Secret to begin with. But yeah, this fight is definitely a close second for me. I mean, also because there's a lot more that is going on and a lot more to subtly communicate through actions rather than just through dialogue. And that's a whole different ballpark, especially for a series that started mostly with verbal humor with aspects of, visual surrealism when it comes to the absurdity. And that just shows that once again, this group has come a long way as far as writers go. I'm assuming that Jason probably had a huge hand at this particular point, but whether or not it was either Jason or aphmau or both of them, they've all come a long way. But here we are right now. Like when MyStreet started, there was no indication it would go down this particular path, tonally or stylistically, and that just shows you that how a show can evolve. This is why I love long running shows. About as long winded as this speech that I'm doing right now is. But the reason I love long running shows because of how they evolve over time. Or don't in some cases. It depends. If you're like if like The Simpsons, for example, they keep the same relative formats. If you're MyStreet, I guess, you change it. And as the fan base changes with you. It's fascinating to see which directions people tend to go and what their conclusions end up being, and that's part of what makes the journey so fun. So yeah, absolutely. You know what? It's early in the video, but I'm calling it right there. That entire fight sequence and all that stuff, despite what I said before about how the Zack part might have been contrived in some ways, the actual fight and whatever, that gets my Levi drink. I think I used a different hand this time. Okay, I'm switching it up. Why not? Moving on. Long time. I said this last episode. It takes a long time to strangle someone, so that guard still having Kane in a chokehold by this point, that makes sense. It was one hand too, so even longer.
We did it!
Yeah.
But Terry's...
We are neither aphmau, nor Lucinda, nor Zane, nor Aaron. We are Zuzafran.
did it.
Well, you all did it. Well, just Aaron.
Travis!
And here we go. Here we go. Okay, so I remember now. This episode, when I originally recorded it, it was also late at night because it premiered late at night. But I wanted my reaction to be in that moment. So I was being very quiet. And that was me trying to get all my thoughts out at the time, watching the premiere as well, so not too long. And I wasn't able to react to something that I really wanted to react to in the moment. And now, 5 years later, it is my chance to do so. It's still late at night. I've soundproofed the places. I'm gonna risk it. Proceed. Oh, dang it. That's what I should have waited for. I leave I drank too soon. I take it back. I take the leave I drink back. There you go. I didn't actually spit in it.
Travis.
Okay.
No.
Give a moment.
Travis. Please, no. Please. Don't leave me. Not like this.
And yeah, another scene of like the voice actors, giving it their all. I mean, we got Garth's one last episode before we got controlled again. Now we get Lizzie.
Throughout the years, you were the only person who didn't leave me. Despite how difficult I could be.
That's actually not true. I get what she's trying to hint at here. But yeah, Caitlin has like the group of friends, like Kawaii-chan particularly. I mean, she physically never left her, like at all. And also, I guess the only thing aphmau did was like move house. She didn't abandon her or anything. But yeah, so this I think is trying to draw back to a thing that I lament never properly got resolved, which was there was in season 2. In the last episode, there was a conversation between Travis and Caitlin, which I really, really wanted to see, come back, because what happened was Caitlin and Travis had got into a big argument over basically nothing. So what happened was, Dante, so Caitlin found out that Dante had essentially cheated on Nicole with Jenna, and Travis knew about it. But the thing is that because obviously Nicole being Caitlin's best friend, which again, another person didn't leave her for the record. Caitlin should have known about it as far as like she was concerned. And what Travis said, possibly not phrasing this in the best way, was that he didn't think about her at that time. What he meant to say, of course, was because Dante was his best friend. He was thinking about what Dante was going through and why he didn't, break up with Nicole when he wanted to, and how to deal with that situation privately, because Dante also did not want it to, get out for obvious reasons. He didn't want to make it as more of a deal than it already was, which was obviously pretty substantial because he cheated on someone. But yeah, because Travis said, he didn't think about Kate at that point, that's when she got really mad at him. We later find out, I think the episode right before this, that like the last person who, didn't think about her or like said that was like her mum, which was the first time that Kenny's mum ever got mentioned. It was clear that she was absent. We didn't know about the whole Elizabeth stuff. That came like way later. But that trauma was still very fresh in her. But even despite that, the conversation I'm talking about is when they reconcile and they have an honest conversation about, what like the things that either made Caitlin uncomfortable or, like push Travis too much in like the wrong direction. They essentially tried to clarify like everything that, they were trying to be to each other, because there was a lot of progress as far as like that they'd come as far as like being close friends at that point, and obviously Travis wanting more, but being respectful of Caitlin, even despite the fact that he flirted with her and ogled her and all that stuff. Someone just left the stream. They're getting bored by me like constantly rambling, but it's important. So the thing about that is that, you know, the ending of that conversation. The problem with the ending of that conversation is it doesn't end. At the point where Caitlyn is about to reveal, you know, why she is the way that she is, why she was like, you know, a tsundere Travis, why she pushed him away in that way, why she was so physical with him in that way. And, you know, all of those reasons why we got that, Aaron comes in and interrupts the conversation because he's trying to find a way to ask aphmau to move in with him, which is obviously setting up for, you know, the next season, or the bigger move in between those. And we never got to resolve that. I always thought maybe it was going to come back, but traveling the you know, the coupling that got, like, you know, moved aside because Zane-chan was getting more popular at this point. Season 3 was where they kind of like got a proper attention to themselves rather than just like mild hints and teasing from aphmau, like in oh hey, you like cute things. And obviously aphmau getting the center focus. As far as like the 3 couplings go that was went, like I was a huge fan of Travelin particularly. So it was always a disappointment to me that we never got to resolve that. Partly for that reason, but also because it kind of like would reveal more insight to Caitlyn's character, which I was really eager to happen, especially because season 2 was Caitlyn at her absolute worst, like as far as writing goes. But yeah, we never got that, and we never seemed to be like, okay, this is all of this stuff going true, and now we're getting back to this where Caitlyn's saying that Travis never left her because he didn't give up on her despite what happened at Love Love Paradise. He didn't give up. He came back. They had that conversation as far as it lasted, then it ended and whatever. And despite that, they remained friends. They pretended to date because, you know, Travis lied to his dad and whatever. But other than that, they were still cordial with each other. They were very much just a great duo in general, regardless of whether they were together or not, even though, like Moonty said, you know, date. But yeah. So again, like now this moment where Kenny thinks she's lost him is like, I wish I should have said those things. Yeah, so do I, quite frankly.
You didn't give up on me. Please.
This is why the early seasons of MyStreet are important, because they cover us this. So all those Emerald Secrets people are like, I'll start here. Nothing matters before this point. It does, you know, because of this. She probably thought that was like Travis's soul leaving his body, but it was actually the other souls leaving his body. Yay! Guy's alive! And Nate's alive too, I saw him as well. Does he get a line? Probably not, his voice is too funny for this. Oh, hooray! Sylvana's back! Woo! Ziana returns!
You know,
And Travis too, of course.
that was my last breath. Take some away.
Of course. That's how I can tell he's back.
Yes! It happened. I get to celebrate properly this time. Ha! Just hands. Traveling. The ship has sailed. Date. When I first saw this, I had to repress my excitement this time. And even though I knew it was coming for 5 years by now, I'm playing this up for what it was supposed to be originally. I am rectifying the mistake and giving you the celebration it deserves. Traveling!
I'm still being quiet because it's still late at night, but I tried, okay? It's almost midnight. An attempt was made. Yes, finally! It's interesting, like, how I was never into much shipping culture apart from I mentioned before Melody because they kind of like did a whole thing about that. But aphmau actively introduced me to that kind of like fandom aspect of things. And this one finally delivered on the thing that she set up in my own mind at this point. So yeah, my goodness. I should have sailed. Forget that other Levi drink. It doesn't count. Levi, that was with my other hand. It's got to be with this hand. There you go. That's the rule now. Real Levi drink here for traveling finally getting, well, not getting together necessarily, but they're finally kissing. The ship has sailed, okay? I'm counting this. Levi drink. There we go. And now the world has been corrected. Finally. Yeah. That was a long kiss too.
I should almost die more often. I'm sorry.
Rest for now. I've got you.
I love the way they have to like position the models too to make that visual work. And of course, the plot comes back in now. You know, all good things must come to an end. Oh, okay, it's well, stable for now.
aphmau! Wake up! Come on!
What's happening to her?
The aftermath of the fight. The relics can only do so much. Once they begin to fade, her body won't be able to.
It's interesting now how you know, Kim and Ghost, even though they've got both their eyes out, they're not speaking in tandem anymore. So we're not getting like the typical Kim on one side and Ghost on the other in different camera angles. Maybe there's not enough time. Maybe the swirling camera shot was just more cinematic. I don't really know.
Fade? That means...
aphmau, wake up! Please, wake up!
You need CPR. Ken is busy. He can't do that right now. I'm doing a lot of Love Paradise callbacks today, aren't I?
We did it. Didn't we? But... we also failed.
Probably referring to Terry right now.
Where are you guys? Am I alone? Am I...
We're never alone. 'Cause baby, you're not alone. 'Cause I'm here with you. I guess that was, you know, another piece of the broken soul. Now we know how they can exist in tandem, somewhat. That still makes sense with corporeal fragments, for the record. It's a soul fragment for a reason. Oh hey, tiny boy bun.
You're alive!
Yeah. Is... Michael...
Gone. We did it.
and Travis...
He's all right. He's just unconscious.
I'm so glad.
Everyone all right?
We're fine. What about you?
I feel like a fool. Otherwise, I'm good. What about you? I've been better.
could show concern for your acquaintances too.
The cannon is losing altitude fast.
It's going to crash into the water. We need to get off.
Yeah, interesting enough, I thought to myself at the time, there's no way they could have represented, the cannon falling and losing altitude because it's difficult with the other one, with the skyline, because you can see it's being so static. At least the outer ring, I suppose, kind of like masks the sky a little bit, but you can still see, different cracks in the facade, so to speak. Ironically enough, I know a method around this. Because, I mean, if you were to mask this, then you'll be able to, like, put a different background of the sky falling down. Potentially the same Minecraft background, just filmed as if, the base doesn't exist. But yeah, that would probably take... It would probably take a lot of coordination. I can see potentially something like in C&D Cam or Blockbuster, you could set up, like, a different shot, and they could have, like, the camera path. And just track the shots in the exact same way, but just like falling from the sky. That might be an option. It would take a lot of coordination, but that's probably how I would have done it, and then just, match them together.
I came here on a helicopter. It's still on the roof. If we go now, we can still make it.
We need to get you to the
I mean,
prototype room.
Assuming that the helicopter is attached to the roof, because otherwise it would be falling at a different speed to the cannon because the cannon is way heavier. So I don't think that's not how physics works. But speaking of physics, is that like there was like a milk carton on the side, honestly, like in the wall. Anyway,
Room now.
Right.
Make it fast. We'll be waiting for you at the helicopter.
this is how you do a scene of them trying to talk about stuff. Make it fast, and they actually do.
Rowan, come in. Is everything all right?
The pink-haired young lady isn't doing well. Her
I mean, did she not tell her? Did she not tell you her name?
gash is far deeper than I thought. Is Michael?
Just dies in the background. That's probably not meant to be funny because it's like a dramatic scene, but like, come on, it's MyStreet still.
Actually did it.
Damn. But wait, we were the ones who activated the...
No time to talk right now. I'm
Yeah, see, that was the question I had. You know, it probably should have been Rowan there.
sure you're feeling the cannon shake. It's losing altitude fast. We need to get out of here. Grab the girl and meet us at the top of the cannon. We have a way out.
Roger.
Roger. I'm watching a lot of Clone Wars recently.
Follow! Quickly!
There'd be a lot more like wind resistance or something going on right now. That's why he would have to yell. So enough of the fact they weren't running with him. Again, if you mask the background, you can do a bit of that static shot for the most part. You'd have to go frame by frame because of Travis's rotating head. So it would be a bit of a pain to do. Unless you did like a, blockbuster green screen in the background. That could work. Maybe.
Zane? Are you alright?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, his wound from, Gareth seems like it's much more intense than before, probably because his body is not resisting it or healing it as well. Even though he's a human, so it wouldn't heal that fast anyway, but probably even less so now. Potentially might get worse.
Something isn't right.
What do you mean? Zane? What about Aaron and Lucinda?
I can feel Lucinda's presence. She's here.
I guess this is probably, what happens when souls you know, become turned into relics, because otherwise, obviously, Zane would have no reason to sense anything.
Aaron's. I don't.
Yeah, Aaron was right next to her originally. Like, Zane and Lucinda got knocked away. I'm more concerned about where Aaron is at the moment in relation to all of them. I haven't seen something going into aphmau's mind, even though we're coming out of it, really. I just realized how, you know, going back to Dragon Ball would have been a cool thing to see, like a design where aphmau was sort of like a bit of like an amalgamation of different things. Like you might have like an orange streak for Lucinda's hair or something. Maybe Zane's freckles, and she's sort of got Aaron's jacket. Potentially the ultimate eyes too. Well, not the ultimate eyes, because then people would die around her. Maybe not that.
Rowan! What's going on? Where are you?
We're en route. Almost there. Hang in there.
No footsteps, interesting. I mean, they're not controlled anymore because no one's there to control them, so... You know, that's not really much of a fake out, is it?
This shouldn't take long.
But last episode? No, it shouldn't.
I really hope this works.
What do you mean by that? Are we going to be able to bring them back?
Well, this hasn't been done before, ever. You know, give us some slack here.
Let's hope.
What?
Too late. Beep. It's like, yes, this will definitely separate them. They'll all be just fine. Okay, all of vaporize them. Wait, what? Beep.
Ready?
Hold on. Just take a moment. I'm going as fast as I can.
I thought you already said everything. Oh, it requires two different panels, you know, because the electronics are less efficient than the I don't know, the ancient runes they used to use.
Nobody. Literally nobody.
Me! Check out the aphmau hoodie, now available in the store down in the description below. This jacket...
Down in the description. Okay, sometimes, again, I've mentioned this before, but aphmau has a particular way of talking sometimes that is really like... is really something else.
It is of absolute high quality. If you thought Zane's jacket was like touching puppies, this one is pretty much like the same thing. Only you're petting more puppies. And 5 kittens. But yes, this fluffy jacket is now available in my shop, and it's down in the description below. I hope you guys...
I still have my Zane hoodie here. It's just been very warm, so I haven't had a reason to wear it until about now. I mean, it is past midnight, so I suppose I can, you know, adopt this again. aphmau and Harry Potter, my two first, you know, big fandoms I was a part of.
For the show. Bye, nerds!
There's the binder. Oh, what? That was the thing from last time. Well, the review. Never mind.
Same device. You were mind controlled too. How? I can't believe you.
You guys shut the frick up! Got a very serious situation going on right now.
You punched us in the face.
What else was I supposed to do? You guys were gonna fricking shoot me!
Wow, with a mouth like that, maybe we should have.
Wow, way to speak to your commanding officer like that. That's That's definitely insubordination in you know, military organizations like this.
Mother... Ah!
How's Travis holding up?
He seems fine for now. He's completely passed out, but I'm not completely sure what kind of injuries he has. But I made sure he was secure in the helicopter in case he's bleeding internally.
Good. Let's just hope everyone is alright.
I like how Lizzie turned that like that explanation line into, you know, genuine emotion there.
Huh?
Like, you can read into that immensely. Just slides a hand across
It's about time.
and gets sliced off.
What? Is she? She's fainted from the blood loss. She's in terrible condition, but she's still breathing. We need to get her to a doctor as soon as possible.
Get her secured in the helicopter. We need to leave now.
What? Leave? Now? Our friends are still inside!
There's no room for them, actually, now I think about it. I mean, even if they did wait longer, which they technically could, but it's more risky. Even if they did wait, what would happen? And the helicopter should have like a max capacity anyway, so it'd probably be more dangerous for the rest of them to stay right now. And the more time that they waste here, the less time they have to potentially make a second journey.
We're already at max capacity for people who can fit in the helicopter.
There you go. See, that's what I said.
We can wait. We can't. Toby's right. The helicopter can only fit so many of us. Any more and it won't be able to take off.
But we can wait!
Even if we waited, there's no way we can carry everyone. Listen to me. If we leave now, we have a chance to come back immediately and rescue the others.
There we go. See? Right? Right?
If we don't go now, we might not be able to get them or even us to safety.
You're the one flying the helicopter. I mean, it's great to explain this stuff, which, you know, it makes perfect logical sense. But you're the one at the controls here. So you decide. You can just take off without, you know, Caitlin being able to protest.
We can't.
Oh my goodness. We don't need another scene of them all just standing around waiting for something to happen. Do something.
We need to get the injured to safety as well.
Yes, you do. You said that already. Can we get a move on, please?
We won't be able to stop her bleeding if it continues.
That's what fainting from the blood loss we to get to a doctor means. We've got to cover this. Let's go!
Fine. We leave right now and then head right back.
That's what he said. There's a chance you can come back immediately if you leave now. So you saying we leave right now but come back immediately doesn't add anything. You're just wasting more time that you've just established you do not have. Okay?
That's the plan. All right.
And also all the pauses in between their lines. It's like watching My Passion, which is not a good comparison.
Let's move.
I think My Passion and this this series came out roughly at the same time, which is a weird time perception. My Passion aired before this, actually. To remind people, the Mutant Girl episode 3 was out in 5 days after this video came out. Well, 6 days, really.
Almost ready.
It's weird to think that the Mutant Girl
aphmau?
technically
When the
ran for
relics
longer
are
than
released
MyStreet
from
did.
you, know
or
your
has been
body
running.
might not be stable.
What does that mean?
You might be badly injured from any damage you sustained from your fight. Relics enhance your physical power, but removing them might.
Is it ready?
Yes.
Just do it!
I would have timed it so that they flew the helicopter off as the cannon was still firing, so you could see the visual in the background. That would have been a good combination. Now we get another good old cat face tracking shot here. Lucinda on one end. And as we pan across, we're probably going to see Zane. Yepperoni. But where's Aaron? Is he on the other side? We might not see in this shot. It might cut away before we get to him. And it does. Yep, of course.
It worked.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe.
We have to go!
I mean, you know, Kim and Ghost saying that it worked implies that Aaron is currently in the room. I forget exactly how this goes down because I know that Aaron doesn't say anything or like wake up until after the cannon. So I'm curious about that right now. But you know, the implication that it worked entirely means that they might at least like see him, so he's physically in the room. Just not in any angle we've seen so far. And again, another reason why camera angles are so impressive and important in any form of media.
aphmau, are you all right?
It hurts.
Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna bring back another thing from season 5. So remember when I said that the aphmau turning into a werewolf episode was, in my own words, too funny? What I meant was because the way that aphmau went about, you know, showing her pain, or the way the writing kind of established that, it felt like it was being played for laughs, like a bit of like the old MyStreet writing style sort of shone through in season 5, which it did at times. Which is one of the reasons it's my favorite season, or you know, tied with season 3. But yeah, in this in this case, yeah, like that line there, just the "it hurts," you know, just like in her weakened moment here, without like any sort of, you know, a big overreaction to some extent. That's what that episode needed, probably. On top of, you know, some like agonizing screams too, because not everything that she said was funny in there, just like some parts of it. But that was still not the intention. Here, not a problem. And again, they're using dialogue much more sparingly than I think they have in any other season, probably because by now the team's got so good at visuals that they can rely on that stuff, and that was probably always part of the intention, you know, going forward.
Be careful. The relics combined made your body far more durable. We didn't have time to leave them in you to help you recover from the fight.
Yeah, she knows that. You just explained that up in the balcony. And yes, we know that you can hear things from up at that balcony, so we don't need this line again. The cannon's collapsing. Can we all stop repeating ourselves, please?
So the damage to your body is going to start to seep in.
Yeah, see, now we're getting into dangerous territory. Physically, Lucinda seems like the most fine, probably because she received like the least direct hits, probably.
Zane, are you all right?
I don't feel good.
I like how aphmau's like shuffling to the side. I think that's implying that's where Aaron is, because that's the one part of this room we haven't seen in the angles yet. And also, Zane, at the moment, is only speaking in monosyllables. We know that part of his cognition was sort of damaged at this point, because he did say something was missing. Implying Aaron, of course, but still.
Huh?
I feel dizzy.
Okay, 2 syllables. You know, that's close.
Is the 4 okay?
Zane!
It doesn't think he goes with 4 right now.
3. Please. Tell me. Is 4 okay?
Yeah, so Okay, this is interesting because someone in the comments of the video said that the reason he's calling people, 3, 4, later he calls us into 7, is because he's going by the number of letters that are in the person's name. Kim has 3 letters, so therefore Kim becomes 3. Lucinda has 7 letters, so she becomes 7 later on. And I think Aaron is also 5. I presume that aphmau is 6, which is quite convenient that like everyone has different numbers of letters. So the question, of course, would be who is 4? Well, I mean, technically speaking, it could be Toby because Toby has 4 letters, but presumably no. I'm not sure who's referring to right now as far as like being okay, but my personal theory is that 4 is Nana. So, food for thought, I guess.
What are you saying?
Zane-chan's got to get some spotlight in this, of course.
4 is good.
4 is internally bleeding right now. We'll address that later.
What's happening? Wait, Aaron?
Lucinda!
Finally, there we go. See? There he is.
What
Right at the edge.
happened to him?
He does look very dead there, but that's not exactly what it is.
We need to get out of here now! The cannon is about to make impact with the ocean! We need to head to the helicopter! No! We're already at an angle. Even if we left now, we cannot make it with the injured we have here. We need you to teleport us.
Me? I can't.
You've teleported us before.
It wasn't
And in season 1.
successful last time.
We need anything right now. Or else we have to leave the injured here. You are our only hope.
No, there is another. Last episode did come out on Star
Alright.
Wars Day.
I can do it. Maeline laokayo o maorian aintai uisi.
I'm not sure if anyone ever found out what she was supposed to be referencing here, if this was just like random incantations. There might be some sort of reference in here, or it's like an actual thing somewhere. But I don't know. All I know is that this is not what required teleportation in earlier seasons. So again, they just made this up to raise the stakes again, which oh no. Sorry to say, doesn't fly with me, not very well.
Go faster, 7!
Quiet!
Yeah, there we go.
I'm
7.
trying to focus. Laokayo maorian aintai uisi gelwik.
Yeah, some of that is the same as before. I'm trying to remember what she said originally, but yeah, that sounds like the same incantation, just in different order.
Lucinda?
Ghost, you have to do it.
Huh?
I can't cast spells for some reason. Everything I'm doing isn't working. It has to be you.
But, what if we teleport somewhere unknown?
It's fine. We just need to.
Suddenly, now the pressure's on her. Suddenly, she's not so happy with it. But yeah, this is the thing. Everyone seems to have lost something. Lucinda lost her magic. Zane lost his cognition. And this is the thing where Aiden and I sort of disagree of like what a fan continuation would look like. One thing we disagree on is like the conclusion, because I think that a season 7 would be a good time to explore the recovery from these things, not necessarily emotionally, but at least physically. Sort of like how Emerald's Secrets and during aphmau's year, Aaron recovered somewhat physically, but not entirely. He still has some of those scars. And of course, aphmau doing healing magics from there, sort of, to try and help Aaron particularly. We know that by Christmas time, so a good like 4-ish months or so, still no progress has been made, even though by that point, like because of her wish, like it seems like Aaron's amnesia is not fully restored, but he is living with aphmau still, so the search for Shu did in fact go well. But yeah, mainly what Aiden says is that he doesn't like the idea of like them recovering from these things and you know, receiving like their gifts back. He likes the idea of like physical damages being permanent. And I can understand that. However, for me, because of the fact that MyStreet never got its like full happy ending, and because we were waiting for that for so long, like has been going through so long, I think that yeah, a happy ending. I sort of agree like Dominic Noble, like an unhappy ending could like retroactively put you off like the entire series. We know that the character's not going to end up well. They've grown to become invested with. It's double-edged sword because tragedy is sort of like built on that idea. But yeah, for me, because like we never got to see, particularly everyone was looking forward to aphmau and Aaron's wedding. That seemed like the conclusion of the series in the way that it was going, as far as like the after ever after story aspect was about. That to me would feel like the proper ending point for MyStreet potentially. But yeah, like hopefully, you know, by that point, Aaron will be able to, you know, see his bride walk down the aisle. I guess it's a bit of a spoiler, but you know, we're going to go into the aspect of this later. But yeah, I thought like, you know, like the mental scarring is not going to go away from any of them. Same thing with Emerald Secret; it never did. It still manifested, and it still was clearly affecting them even to this point. Having some physical elements, yes, that's realistic, but again, it really does depend on like how they're able to like move on with their lives. That's why I personally would, you know, go for something a little bit happy, in which case they can, even if it takes like some efforts to recover from these things, there's still a physical journey they can recover from, you know, as well as, you know, memories and all that stuff. So yeah, whether or not you agree with me or with Aiden, I guess that's kind of like up to our own personal writing styles. And ultimately, we may never end up knowing. aphmau did promise one more season of MyStreet, but we all know what that's kind of seemed like over the past few years. Watch I post it now out of the blue and like humiliate me as a result. But yeah, probably not. So until then, we can only speculate and say, you know, what would you think? I mean, in the comments, actually, how would you see MyStreet wrapped up? Particularly if you've watched the series, you know, multiple times, or you know what's going to happen after this, and you know, you're familiar with her wish and all that stuff.
Liv! You already cast a spell once. You can do it again.
And that was an exorcism too. That was not easy. And fittingly, that again, that's the same incantations before. So again, I feel like that's a reference to something I'm just not getting at the moment. Now they all like pop out of existence like a little bit. They like one at a time they pop out because they someone has to like remove the models or something.
She did it. But everyone else must have teleported somewhere else.
Now we get like another reveal of where we are. We just got that through in the separation. I'm surprised there aren't more like confused people, like, you know, wandering by.
We need to find them.
Maybe they all evacuated. I think this was the wolf cave. Good old Catfish establishing shot. There we go. As he does get establishing shots, you know, he's not worth it. I'm kidding. Zane, open your eyes. I mean, eye. Oh, the way his eye blinks, I like that. That's a lot of movement there.
Right?
I love the angle as well as he stands up because he's taller than Kim, so of course the camera will be pointing slightly downwards at her. Very, very nice. That's like underrated camera techniques there.
Yes. Where are we three?
We're back in Starlight. But we need to get back to everyone else. Follow me.
I mean, assuming you know where to go, obviously, because you can just say, follow me, and you're like, well, okay. Not much of a guarantee, but sure. Okay, we now fade to a different time of day, it seems. They're like the sun fade like much quicker. Maybe because it took them these two longer to wake up. That might be why. That's a nice thing. I like the sky in the background. I love the sky though, even if it is weird how the time of day.
I'm right here. I won't leave.
I'll always be here for you, Super Potato.
I can't get to you, Aaron.
Who are you?
On the helicopter in the distance. Salvation's on the way, but there's so much else to talk about. Okay. So now we've seen that Aaron has amnesia, and also we've seen that we haven't really talked about the fact that he's blind, but I do remember, like, right before this episode came out, I saw, it wasn't a video theory this time, I think it was like a Tumblr theory or something when I was perusing for like the fan trailers or something. Not the fan trailers, the official trailers, because we had to look through aphmau's Tumblr at the time. There was some hints and, you know, a whole like puzzle to get through, etc., etc. If you remember that whole ordeal. But yeah, something someone said on there, they actually theorized that Aaron was blind in Her Wish because of the line "Who are you?" which is what I just said here. Now, of course, we know that "Who are you?" was meant to imply amnesia, because he said he sort of started to say that to Dante, and of course, you know, the bandana being back on again was sort of a little bit of an interesting idea. I guess that's probably because we had to mask the fact that, you know, his pupils were gone. Fun fact, that's also why I gave Agatha grey pupils, because of that visual with Aaron. But yeah, the so the theory was correct, but I guess for the wrong reason. Which is a trend with aphmau theories end up being correct. They get the evidence wrong, but the conclusion ends up being valid. I wonder if that was the intention or not, if it was just the amnesia. But yeah, that's the thing. Where it seems like Aaron's journey to recovery would be the amnesia stuff. Aiden was like, you know, Aaron should stay blind at the very least, because again, physical remnants. And again, I know what he's talking about. This is the thing with writers sometimes. You know, you can see what their point of view is and why they came to that conclusion, and you can see why it's a good thing, and you can still be like, yeah, but, you know, subjectively, I think this way would be better. And that's just kind of where you stick sometimes. That's just how art discourse can go sometimes. You know, in the case of me and Aiden, we just ended up like talking about like the same points over and over again until the cows come home. So I did send a message to be here, but I guess that's one advantage of him not being here is the fact that we don't go back and forth on that point ad nauseum. I'm kidding. This would be better with him anyway, especially considering that you know, we're supposed to be combining these, but I'm bound by the schedule of 5 years later, as I made that promise nearly 5 years ago. That's just how things are. But yeah, that was the revelation there of that theory. And I guess the reason that Aaron, is blind now is because, his eyes don't function the same way anymore. So essentially he's been freed from the curse, but that now his eyes don't function as eyes anymore. I guess, he's aware if he can navigate with his snooter or something, but that's probably not what they're gonna go for, thinking that through. I don't really know. Again, so much that was left undecided. People said at some point that, the bittersweet ending of MyStreet was like, oh wow, some things, don't have a happy ending. That's like a lesson for that. It's like, no, they left so many loose ends attached to this. This was clearly never meant to be a conclusion. And that's the problem I have. I know I said before that happy endings, I prefer them, especially when I've been super invested into characters for literal years. But even tragic endings, as long as they are conclusive and make sense, I can get behind. But in this case, yeah, this was not meant to be in it. But there's only one way to start off this. But as far as MyStreet overall goes, the way that it did end after next episode, then yeah. And wow, we're almost in the final episode of season 6, and then it is just Phoenix Drop Days after that, and then we are done with MyStreet 5 years later. MyStreet 5 years later ends this year, in December of this year, but it's still this year. So we have another gap after this, where we thought wow, no more MyStreet for some time. But yeah, this is around the time Minor Demons was also making the the waves and such. So the aphmau people were not starved for content. But this is also the era where for due to reasons like my worst relationship, that was sort of tied to aphmau in some ways. Not like she was directly involved, but thematically speaking, the sign that we both bonded over. So I at one point drifted away from aphmau's content because I couldn't bring myself to watch her for such a long time. And that was part of why I started 5 years later, was to get over that experience that I had and bring back the positive association I had in my personal life with aphmau, which was, again, no fault of her own. But yeah, we're approaching the time where that distance thing happened. So actually, I kind of missed out on most of the final year of what we would call, what we would call the before aphmau now, the classical aphmau. Classic aphmau's really before role plays, honestly. I feel that would be, the mini games era, the Iron and Coal, etc. That's still role play, but you know what I mean. The challenge accepted era, I think, is the classic aphmau technically, but yeah, what people now think is classic aphmau sort of ended that final stretch in 2019, and then then we get modern aphmau now. And yeah, so this was almost like a bit of an end for me. So yeah, we got to this point, and now I'm dreading more and more the fact that we're wrapping things up than I did originally. Wow, who'd have known? But yeah, as far as the episode itself goes, way better than part 1. I know I built up the epic battle in this, and yes, that was great. I should have known it wasn't going to go on for the whole time, even though we had so much to cover after this. But yeah, mostly it was the aftermath, and really, there might be an argument to be made that the final battle, given how short it was relative to the video, could have potentially been done in Reborn Part 1. Again, if you trimmed out a lot of the stuff that came before in Reborn Part 1, and then we end on the cannon being fired, and then we get the usual like Terry being gone or something like that, and then the rest of this is although then again that might have left part 2 and 3 being a bit unsatisfactory because we have one epilogue, so I guess we don't technically need 2 in a sense. So I can see why I did things like that. I convinced myself of that. Ultimately, not much to say about this one. It's just one of those, another one of those brilliant MyStreet episodes that leaves you with, everything you had to say has been said. The camera work was spectacular. The sound effects were second to none where they did exist. A couple of times they're missing, but whatever. And the music, brings back the elements from Diaries, and therefore like the origins of roleplay aphmau herself. Which is ultimately what season 6 was somewhat attempting to do. And it seems like everyone got something to do, and some reason that they had that where they got to escape. Even some of the GFs survived, which is fantastic. The death count has already been substantial enough in this series. We don't need any more, quite frankly. The rising with a knife thing has run its course. We have achieved that. But then again, the remnants of death, of course. Let's see how they mess that up next episode, shall we? So with that ominous idea, great episode, spectacular. Aiden said he wouldn't be here for that, but he loves this episode. I do too. It's amazing, and it inspired, I think, probably still my favorite song that I have ever actually done. So maybe I'll treat you all to a remake of that in the near future, potentially on its 5th anniversary, if I can get it done fast enough. Because ironically enough, I prepared in advance for its release, and then I didn't this time, so we'll see. But for now, please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. I've done so already, and hold on, I need to check when the next episode is. When is Reborn Part 3? Also, I thought we were wrapping up in the last episode, so I thought like, oh wow, this is like my final capture of this. But yeah, Reborn Part 3 finale, and that one came out on June 8th. Okay, so June 8th, about a year. Well, actually, we're over a year now from when season 6 started. Actually, that was May 5th. So officially now season 6 is a year old. Well, sorry, it's 6 years old. I mean, because 5 years later, you know what I mean. All right, but yeah, we'll see everyone here on June 8th. Same time, same place, 5 years later. And on that note, until next time, farewell.